And so this obviously raises the question, who sent Joseph to Egypt? Was it his brothers who sent him to Egypt? Or was it God? Or was it both? And what is the relationship between God being in control of things and the free will of Joseph's brothers? At the end of the book of Genesis, in Genesis chapter 15, verse 20, Joseph once again reassures his brothers and he says, "You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good." What we discover here is that God works through our free will choices. God even works through our evil choices to work out his good plans and purposes of salvation. And so, God's plans and purposes are not like a pre-written script that we simply cannot deviate from. We don't become these pre-programmed robots. That's fate. That's fatalism. Rather, I kind of think of God's plans and purposes like the satellite navigation system in your car. It calculates the route to your destination. It's the best route, it's the quickest route, it's the safest route, and then off we go, but we think we know better. And so we veer off route and turn down some other road, and so God recalculates to get us back on route. And then we veer off again and recalculates again, and then God recalculates again, and eventually we will get to our destination. We might have taken a lot of wrong turns, a lot of detours. We might have taken the longest route possible. We might have had some consequences along the way, been stuck in a traffic jam, having to do a U-turn, but God will get us to our final destination. And God, of course, knows every possible choice you could ever make. Just like the satellite navigation system knows every single road that you could possibly turn down, God knows every single possible choice you could make. And it doesn't matter what choice you make, God's got it covered. He can recalculate the route, get you to your final destination. You may take the long route, you may take the difficult route, but God's got it covered. He will work out his plans through all our free choices. And of course, God knows what he's going to do. God absolutely knows what he's going to do. And he may block a couple of roads and limit your choices. He may intervene at times, as he does in Jesus, and as he will at the end of time. So God absolutely knows what he's going to do. But God also knows you intimately. And so God kind of knows in advance what you're going to choose. Like when I say to Hannah, which cup would you like? I know she's going to choose the yellow cup. She always chooses the yellow cup. God knows us intimately, and so he knows what we're most likely going to do. But still, there is an openness that we could choose something that might surprise God. Not in the sense of like, oh no, what am I going to do now? But just in the sense, wow, I didn't expect them to go that way, but no problem, I've got that covered. We see this with Abraham. It's only once Abraham has actually lifted the knife to kill Isaac that we read in Genesis chapter 22 and verse 12 that God says, "Now I know that you fear God, because you have not withheld from me your son, your only son." Now, of course, God knows Abraham intimately, and so God knows Abraham's going to go through with it, but there's still that possibility that he might not. The very real. That's why it's only after the event that he's able to say, "Now I know." And again, we see this with the story of Esther. So it's God's plan and purpose to use Esther to rescue the Jews. But if Esther chooses not to help, we're told in Esther chapter 4 and verse 14 that God would raise up someone else. He's got this covered. God's going to work out his plans one way or another. But he's going to work out his good plans of salvation. And so through all our free choices, God is still at work, steering history in a certain direction and working out his good plans to bring blessing. And that's the providence of God.